أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما فلا تتبعوا الهوى أن تعدلوا وإن تلووا أو تعرضوا فإن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Just a quick translation of what's just been recited. O you who believe, stand firmly for justice as witnesses to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if it be against yourselves or your parents or your close relatives. Be he rich or poor, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a better protector to both. And do not follow your lusts, the desires, the egos, lest you may avoid justice. And if you distort your witness or turn away from it, then know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is well aware. He subhanahu wa ta'ala is well acquainted with what you do. Sadaqallah. Jazakallah.
Jazakallahu khairan, Imam Musaddiq Shaheen, who I asked before the event to recite some ayat of the Qur'an which he felt were relevant to the situation of Dr Aafia Siddiqui, and what beautiful ayat that he has recited for us. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward him for his beautiful recitation and make it a shafa'ah for him on Yawm al-Qiyamah and for all of us. Ameen. Now, many of you may have heard of JFAC, Justice for Aafia Coalition, nationally, or may not have. Some of us, whether we know about Aafia Siddiqui's situation or not, may have come across them at some point in the last year or so. And to introduce Justice for Aafia Coalition and to introduce Dr Aafia Siddiqui and her story, I'm going to first bring to you our first speaker, Brother Ilyas Townsend, who embraced Islam at the tender age of 19 in 2005, and is currently a teacher at the Lewisham Young Muslim Academy at Lewisham Islamic Center. Since the last year, he has been tirelessly going up and down the country at various masjids and universities to preach and to spread the message of Aafia Siddiqui's situation to the local populations. And I personally had met him during one of JFAC's marches in March the March of this year, commemorating the 8th year in which he was captured in Karachi. And so I'd like to bring him down to the stage, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like to extend great thanks to, first and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to live, breathe and worship Him in this blessed month of Ramadan. And after thanking Allah Azza wa Jalla, I'd like to thank the brothers and the sisters of the community for staging this event and raising awareness about our sister Dr Aafia Siddiqui. And what I would like to do is everyone just to imagine that you come from a noble and well-respected family, a family which is known for education, manners and all-round achievement. Within this noble family that you grew up in, you had a sister that was loved by all of the people that she met. And because she was so humble and showed you so much love, you were never jealous of all of the love that she was shown by other people. Imagine that you grew up together in the United States and you heard the good news that your sister Aafia has been accepted into MIT, which is one of the most prestigious universities in the United States. And throughout your sister Aafia's time at MIT, you continually hear of her academic achievement, top marks time and time again, and you're even more astounded as the fact that she gets married and has 2 children. And even though that happens, even though you now have a beautiful nephew by the name of Ahmed and a beautiful niece by the name of Maryam, your sister Aafia, she continues to attain top marks during her time in university. And one of the things that really impresses you is the time that she dedicates to her religious activities whilst at university. Even though she's a full-time mother, a full-time wife and a full-time student, you find that you find that Aafia Siddiqui still had the time to give back to her local community. She still had the time to teach the Muslim sisters in her home for free. So much so that the room was full and the house was full of sisters, and she's teaching them about La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. You find that even though she's a full-time mother, a full-time wife and a full-time student, she still has time to teach the Muslim children for free on the weekends. You find that even though she's a full-time mother, a full-time student, she still has the time to organize drives to the local prisons to give the prisoners copies of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You find that she still has time to design and give presentations on Islam and the situation of the Muslims around the Muslim world and elsewhere. And all of this, it just mesmerizes you about your sister, Dr Aafia Siddiqui. And she's so dedicated to her faith in a place where you find many Muslims, they go astray. University is a place where many people, they're exposed to the dunya. They're exposed to zina. They're exposed to khamar. They're exposed to so much different ideologies. But you find that in university, Dr Aafia Siddiqui is strong on her Islam. She's strong as she follows the Prophet ﷺ's advice, قُلْ آمَنْتُ بِاللَّهِ ثُمَّ اسْتَقِمْ. Say I believe in Allah, and then after that remain steadfast. And despite your sister, despite her good manners, despite her tolerance and kind nature, you're very surprised to hear that the US General Secretary at the time, Christopher Levine, describes her as a high security risk. And then picture again, you're at home, maybe you're at work, maybe you're studying, and you hear the news that 2 planes, they fly into the Twin Towers, September the 11th. And the Twin Towers, they collapse and thousands, approximately 3,000 people die. And in the aftermath, your sister Aafia, for no reason, is targeted. Your well-mannered, studious, kind-hearted sister that you always knew, the newspaper tarnished her. And the reputation of your sister merely becomes Lady Al-Qaeda. They even accuse her of being involved in smuggling diamonds from Liberia in order to raise funds for Al-Qaeda. And you're shocked that this graduate from MIT, who was described as by her fellow students as being religious but nowhere near fundamentalism or extremism, etc., you're shocked. And even though you feel sorry for your blood sister Aafia Siddiqui, you try to put yourself in her shoes. And you try to imagine your children seeing their mother in the newspapers, front page news. You try to imagine your own children seeing your face on the news, TV screens, and the children and the people of the local community ostracizing you. You try to put yourself in those shoes, and it's very difficult to do that. And things get so bad for your sister Aafia that she has to go back to Pakistan in order to be around her family and around her people. And even amongst all of that darkness, there's one ray of hope. There's one ray of goodness in that you have another nephew by the name of Sulaiman. In 2003, you find out that your sister is returning back to the US. And whilst you are apprehensive that this smear campaign will resume again, you're overjoyed and happy and looking forward to seeing your warm, bright, friendly sister, Dr Aafia Siddiqui, again. And so you rush to the airport. And as you're waiting for the plane to arrive, you are anxious as you see passengers from the plane leaving. And you search for Aafia and you can't find her. You go to the information desk and you check the tickets time and time again. And each time you know that her flight has arrived, but there's no sight of Aafia. There's no sight of your sister, there's no sight of your nephews and your niece. You decide to phone mum, and mum tells you that Aafia left for the airport on time and she should be there. And so you wait around at the airport hour after hour after hour until it becomes apparent that Aafia Siddiqui isn't there. You feel frightened. And that sinking feeling develops in your stomach. Again, you phone your mother and you try to reassure her that Aafia is okay, even though yourself, you're apprehensive. You're giving your mother empty reassurance because you yourself are afraid of what's going on. So you return home. A month goes by and there's still no news of your sister Aafia and your nieces and your nephews. 3 months she then appears on the FBI's most wanted list. And still there's no news of Dr Aafia Siddiqui. And when you hear this ridiculous news, you're even more shocked to hear that in Pakistan there's no official report with the police and there's no awareness about Dr Aafia Siddiqui's whereabouts. And then you speak to your mother and your mother tells you that intelligence service go to her home. And the man, he has on a black motorcycle helmet so she can't see his face. And this man says to your mother, if you care about the welfare of your daughter, and if you care about your own safety, you better not say a word to anyone about the whereabouts of Dr Aafia Siddiqui. Don't mention anything. Keep your mouth shut. Imagine that. Imagine that even the US, they're denying all whereabouts or knowledge of who Dr Aafia Siddiqui is. So years go by, years. And you know nothing about the whereabouts of your sister, Dr Aafia Siddiqui, and her children. But in 2008, there's press conferences led by caged prisoners, in which Yvonne Ridley and Sagar Hussein, they start asking who is prisoner 650 and where is Dr Aafia Siddiqui. And these press conferences held in Pakistan, they lead to coverage and world and interest about Dr Aafia Siddiqui and prisoner 650. And it just so happens that after these press conferences, that an agent from the FBI visits your brother in Texas, saying that Aafia Siddiqui is being held in Afghanistan. And so now you start to question, well, how and why is she being held in Afghanistan?